Let's start by looking into the epic. An epic is a group of related user stories. And you might as well already have created an epic without knowing it. If you've been in a situation where you have created a user story and you see that, wow, this user story is huge, it has to be split into several other user stories. If you have split it into 10 to 15 other user stories, well, you have probably been pretty close to creating an epic. Because an epic is just like a user story, only at a higher level. It's the closest level going up from the user story. If you are using a language, as a specific language structure to describe your stories, you can continue doing that. For example, if you're using the sentence I really like, which is, as a role, I want to be able to action in order to reason. If you're using that kind of structure, you can continue doing that for the epic as well. And an epic has the same format as the user story. It has the same short description, and it also has the same clear acceptance criteria. But for creating acceptance criteria to an epic, of course you need to think of a little bit higher level than the user story. For the estimation part of the epic, you can go ahead and do like you have always done, using the story points. But for the epic, of course, you call them epic points instead. And now I'm going to share with you some advice that I've seen after doing Agile estimation for quite a while. When you're using the poker cards that you might have been given for at a conference, or you might have even bought them, they usually have the numbers 1 to 10 on their face value. What you want to do is to time that by 1000, so that instead of writing an estimate of 1 to 10, you're writing an estimate of 1000 to 10,000 to 30,000, something like that. The reason for that is because of the psychological effect of using numbers to estimate something. You do not want people to confuse this with something like kroners, dollars, or hours. You want people to understand that the number you're setting as the estimate is an imaginary abstract number. Setting the thousands range for user stories really helps that, and in the same way it helps if you're setting the tens for the epics, so that you're saying that a epic is either 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. So that you're using the 10 scale instead of the 1000 scale. That clearly separates it, and it makes it easier for people to kind of not think about anything else than the imaginary number you're setting. So one important thing about the epic is that you're really never working directly on the epic. You're still working on the user stories that are related to the epic. If you want to make a link towards traditional project management, you could really consider the epics to be somewhat of a small project. Now, what you have been given as a release manager is a tool for you to not have to go into the details of everything. You now have the first level of reporting that you can use outside of the dev organization. The next level you need to think about is called adventure. The adventure is a group of related epics. And just as the same as you're thinking about user stories and epics, you use the same format all along. You need a short description, you need clear acceptance criteria, and you need an estimate. If you're using the thousands for user stories and you're using the tens for the epics, you would use the ones for adventure. So an adventure estimate would be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You do need to think about the adventure in a little bit different way from the epic. The epic is something you use to monitor and track towards the close proximity of your product. You're discussing epics with your product owner, you're discussing it with the domain knowledge experts, etc. But the adventure is something you would discuss with your CEO and the board members. It's mainly a tool for tracking the overall direction. And if you want to make a link towards more traditional project management, you would probably consider it to be something close to what people think about when they speak about portfolios. At this point of the course, I'd like to make a small confession to you. While creating this course, I've been very strict on following the terminology used by others. Most of the wording I use is the same as in the Scrum literature, even though this is a general Agile course and not a Scrum specific course. But with the word adventure, I've taken some liberties. In the Scrum literature, you would find this level described as theme. But before you gather an angry mob for chasing me down with pitchforks for committing such a huge sin, please consider this. The storytelling aspects for Agile works very well when you're communicating with others, but the word theme does not really fit into this context. Over the years, I've been in many discussions where the word theme has been confused for something else from other methodologies. To avoid the misunderstandings, I started using the word adventures instead of themes, and at least for me, it seems like it helps. I will, however, not hold it against you if you want to use the more common word for this level.